Hello, my name is Shartae Richardson, founder and host of Women Minding Their Own Business, a platform that honors women entrepreneurs. And as you know, the month of March is Women's History Month. So we would like to take the time to just honor and acknowledge all the women all over the world. And we thank you for your acts of love, kindness, and service, especially to the women entrepreneurs on Women Minding Their Own Business. And speaking of, we have another woman entrepreneur. Her name is Brandee Harrington. She's going to talk to us about this journal and how it's going to keep us organized. But before she does that, she's going to share a little bit about her entrepreneurial journey. Brandee, thank you for being here. So how did you get started?
Ever since I remember, my mom always was an entrepreneur. And I used to ask my mom, why don't you go to a job? And she used to tell us that she wanted to have the flexibility and the freedom that if we needed something or if our school schedules were a little demanding, she would be able to have that freedom to ensure that she was available for us. And so growing up, I was like, oh, okay, my mom just works, for herself. And
Mhm.
so obviously growing up, I ended up going into corporate America. But after I had children and my lifestyle changed, I realized that those same words echoed into my mind, like, I need to be a little bit more flexible for my daughters. And so I made the transition and went into entrepreneurship just like my mother.
So, how did you know what field to go into?
I am a commercial real estate broker and I've always grew up around real estate. Little did I realize I made the connection that my grandmother growing up had a real estate property in Chicago. And I just remember my grandmother always basically being at home, but she worked like when she wanted to, but she had rental properties and that's what she did. And so when I was working for corporate America, I remember being let go. And I
Mm.
just felt devastated. I felt deflated. And I just sat at home. And one day I just said, Lord, what do I do? And I remember the hearing real estate. And I was like, real estate. And I remember having rental properties. And what I decided then was that I never wanted to be in a position where I had to just one stream of income. I needed to have another stream should this occur again. And so I just made it a decision that day that I would always continue to have rental properties and or some type of other stream coming in to ensure that if something were to happen at my corporate job, I would continue to always have money.
You knew that because of the examples of your mother and your grandmother. How did you get your first rental property?
Budgeting and budgeting. I tell people be in a position for you to be at a place where you are able to have this flexibility. So from when I first started, the funny story is I overdid it, meaning I took on too many properties. I did have a corporate job, and
Mm-hmm.
that leveraged me being able to buy real estate properties. I didn't realize my first goal within real estate that I did not know all of the numbers and I wasn't very well versed on what I should be looking for. Return on investments, how much money should these properties be generating so I can continue to pay each mortgage. I just leaped in head first, no mentor, and decided, you know what, I'm superwoman, right? I didn't have any children at the time. I'm going to do it all, right? And not knowing that these numbers matter, right? And so I didn't realize that. And so that first time around is 2008 exactly. That's when the mortgage crash happened. And it seemed like every property that I owned, something went crazy. And I realized at that point I overpaid. I did some numbers and looking back, I didn't have a good handle on that. And I lost every property. And I just vowed at that point I was done with real estate because I didn't understand my money and my budgeting. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand how to navigate this process. And so I tell anybody, getting one is not necessarily hard. It's how do you think about money and how do you live your life to be very disciplined with your money.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can be able to understand that concept, you can be able to understand why real estate is going to matter and why you can be able to pivot even in your own life where you can start to get into real estate.
Okay, good. So you brought up something very key because um, I don't know. I think I just got into entrepreneurship by, I say accident, but I know it's not an accident. It's just speaking with other women entrepreneurs. It's just being very passionate about something and then wanting to either you had a personal experience
Mhm.
um, in and of yourself, and then that propelled you, or you just help somebody, then somebody told you like, oh, you should be doing this for yourself. Like this could be a business for you. So there are people in the whole entrepreneurial world that would say, jump in 100%. Then there's others in the entrepreneurial community that will say, I have a job and then work the business on the side until the business can be able to take care of you. So I want to know your expertise on that.
Okay, I understand. So my expertise will be the latter. You definitely don't want to jump into entrepreneurship without understanding everything. And the reason why I say that is that entrepreneurship is tough. Let's just be honest, in the sense where it's challenging. I'm going to say tough. I would say challenging because guess what? When you're used to, let's just say you get paid the 15th and the 30th or every 2 weeks, you get used to that, right? And that income is very much a crutch in the sense where, okay, if nothing else, even if I have work this week, I'm going to still get paid, right? But when you're an entrepreneur, right, you don't have that luxury to say, oh, I'm still going to get this check or I'm still going to do this. I'm a commercial real estate. Sometimes deals do not get done. Sometimes not any fault of my own. It just could be financing, it's other challenges, it's
Mhm.
delays, it's oh my gosh, all kind of things. So for me, again, budgeting, right? I like to say the B word, not the one you're thinking of, that B word, that is key, right? I
Yeah.
tell people stop, don't get offended when someone tells you to budget because I think we live so much in a society where we think that because I have this money, I'm supposed to spend it. You can't tell me what to do. And I'm like, that's not reality because just like you said, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and let's say you're getting and this money comes in and you have this influx at one point in one time, you still have to learn how to be disciplined
Yep.
with that money so it may carry you. Now, true. What if the next month your sales are flat or your services or that you use is not the same, but you had a lot of money, let's say January, February, it didn't really pan out the same way, but you still have enough to float you.
Mhm.
March, you've had an increase. You see where I'm going with that? So in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, sometimes you want to have consistent income. That's the goal. But if you don't have it initially, why would you jump feet first when you have bills, children, maybe bill, all kind of different responsibilities and
Mhm.
not know how or where your money is going to come from? And so you mentioned people saying that, just jump feet first. We've seen statistically a lot of entrepreneurs do what? Return back to, corporate America.
Workforce.
Why?
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
there was not a level of stability in the sense of understanding exactly what this does. And this role is as an entrepreneur, you're marketing, you're accounting,
Mhm.
you're the brand, you are everything. And you have to be disciplined
Yeah.
across the board to make the dollars or the coins make sense, right? You have to know what's going to happen. And having that mindset, right?
Mhm.
Having that fortitude and discipline is vital if you are going to be, I changed the word a little bit. It's a covenantpreneur. I'm in covenant with God, and He blesses the works of my hands because
Absolutely.
He's CEO, and I'm just the co-pilot, But because I'm now listening to what He's saying, He's telling me and showing me the things that's going to say, okay, Brandee, next month maybe this, or next month you might need to, there's going to be more expenses that you may have didn't know about, but guess what? You're going to be okay. So you have to know that confidence, but because you are in covenant with Him and you're now a covenantpreneur, you can be able to say, okay, this too gonna pass.
Yes.
But you can't know that unless you have that revelation and that discipline to know that it's all gonna work out.
Talk about this.
Okay.
How did this come into manifestation?
So this really was birthed out of God just telling me that I needed to talk about this. So I talked about my mother, I talked about my grandmother. I am the middle only girl. And one thing I realized is that with being in entrepreneurship, being in roles where you are obviously responsible for everything, one thing we don't really ever talk about is in the event of an emergency.
Mm.
Nobody ever says, hey, in the event of an emergency, this is what you need to do to ensure that this business or this family or fill in the blank continues.
Mhm.
We obviously get into entrepreneurship and we run these businesses and we do so much for so many people and everyone looks and depends on us.
Mhm.
But we're not superwoman.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes this independency that we've been charged with comes at a weight that sometimes we are not even thinking about.
Mhm.
I get tired, or if something were to happen, again, Lord forbid, what does my family do? And so what COINZ was really was birthed out of a personal situation where not once, but twice, God had showed me to prepare myself. I'm such a planner. I let planning go to the wayside. And when my mother got sick the second time, I started pinning what you have in your hand at the hospital. And it was
Mm-hmm.
because at that point, I realized I didn't know the answers to these questions. And so I sat in the hospital room, and when the doctors come in, anytime you've been sick before, they always ask whoever the who most responsible person is, and more 9 times it's normally the women. What's next? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you all want to do. And then you're sitting there like, huh? When do we have this conversation? When do we
Mm-hmm.
talk about it? And if you are have any siblings, they sometimes call you or nieces, or someone always knows that she's the most responsible one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, no one ever talked to me about this. There's not an easy button that comes out the sky and says, hey, this is how you handle this, right?
Right.
I wish it was. And so for me, what I realized is that I've never really had this discussion. And so what you have in your hand is something that I felt like um, was downloaded to me, that we needed to start having these uncomfortable conversations and making them comfortable. More importantly, we need to protect what we have as entrepreneurs, as women who are definitely doing so many things for so many people. Everything that we worked hard for needs to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't and would not want anyone to come in and take all of your hard work and all of the coins and all of the money that you've generated and just, give it away, would you?
No, of course not.
If you wouldn't dare let anybody just come in and take all of your resources, why do we simply not have this conversation up front?
Lack of knowledge.
And fear.
Mm-hmm.
So that lack of knowledge, then we are literally hanging on time, right? We are literally at the mercy of time. And what we're saying to our creators that I know what time I need to have this conversation
Mm-hmm.
better than you. So because we think we have so much time, we think that there's going to be a perfect time to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
And there's no such thing as a perfect time for emergencies, because emergencies are what they are. So what I've learned through that process is that once we are able to have these conversations and it's one and done, or you just come back and reflect on it and check in on it, guess what? It becomes like everything else we plan. We don't plan for an emergency because in our minds, we think we're going to have time to talk about it, which, let's just be honest, nobody likes to talk about this, but something is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a position that everything we worked hard for is protected.
Mm-hmm.
All of the businesses, the things that we are so well skilled at, everything that people depend on can go now and make it plain because they can read what they need to know about in order to continue with this business.
Like if someone were to purchase this, and I hope that they do, just give us the little steps and how it looks.
Okay. So if they were to go out to my coins journal, COINZ journal.com, and get a copy of this, let's just be honest, rich auntie, right? Let's say the rich auntie has all these different assets. What the rich auntie should do is to complete the book. It
Mm-hmm.
goes through steps, step by step, from finances to bank accounts to your passwords. Because let's be honest, if I have to be able to help you because you're just not 100% and I have to come in there and pay your bills, guess what? It knows that I'm not you. So if I'm helping you and it sends a code to your phone and I don't have access to getting your phone, how do we pay your bills? So as the rich auntie, you're just leaving the necessary steps should someone have to get in there. Now, again, you want to make sure you leave it with someone who you trust and you know that you can trust these people and or individuals and or individual to be able to do what's right. Because this is a lot. And I get it. This is like losing and letting go of the one thing that we've been always told to hold on to so close. But how has that helped us? And so if you're the rich auntie, fill the book out. If, however, you are married and you, as the spouse, know all of the answers, but your husband or maybe wife doesn't, you need to complete this and you all need to sit down and let's talk about this. And I have several stories of people who did not know the answers and they were married, and or I've seen it even live with a young man whose mother, she left some information for him and now he felt more empowered to be able to help his mother because guess
Mm-hmm.
what? He had the answers now. So fill it in how you need to. You just want to be able to make sure that in the event of an emergency, you're prepared. All of those tools, all of the money, all the coins that you've created, and then all the things that you've done in your business that made you a success, you want to protect that because the bank has now billions with a B of unclaimed money. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
if they cannot get the money because you didn't have the right people on the bank account, if you
Mhm.
didn't have a will and living will, we can, things like that, they can't release those funds. So that's why I want to make sure that if someone wants to get that, the steps is just to sit down, do a one by one. I offer as an accountability partner, there's services that I can offer people. We have a coins party and we protect
Mm.
our legacies by having that party because now when you leave here, you can literally take this to anyone and they can say, any attorney or estate planner say, wow, I deal with the big stuff, but you've gotten down to the minute details here. And now you will be empowered for you and your family.
So, what would a person in that situation do as far as wanting to leave their legacy?
So in that particular sense or instance, I would just definitely employ that person to figure out what are they most passionate about. What is someone in your neighborhood, someone that you are very fond of? Maybe there's an
Mhm.
organization that you support their efforts. You can leave it to them. You find out how you can support. Maybe it's a school district. Maybe it's something that you can do when you go and you actually complete these steps and take it to your attorney. They can be able to help ensure that those funds go to that particular organization for you. I just challenge people to look beyond, I don't have, and look and see how I can bless. And I
Mhm.
think once you realize it that way, you can be a blessing. They could create things and put it in your name as a scholarship fund. Maybe you look
Absolutely.
at your alma maters and you or schools that you are very much affiliated with and connected with, and leave it for them. Endowment scholarships. You can leave funds for them under certain scholarship. I mean, under certain terms, and they can make sure that those wishes are carried out for you because you did leave this type of money. So I definitely employ people that don't let that be your excuse to just leave it to a cat. Find something or someone where you can be a blessing to someone else because of you. You
Yes.
help make a difference. They can be able to give glory to our God to know that it was because this person left this that I'm in this position to be in a better place.
Give us your contact information if somebody wants to get in contact with you and start organizing their life.
Absolutely. Definitely organize your life and definitely don't be afraid of the B word, which is budget, and understand that you need to budget in order to be able to go on and experience whatever life that you want. It starts with being more disciplined. So definitely if you need more help, contact me. I'm Brandee Harrington. My website for the book is www.mycoinsjournal.com. And you can follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, under the same handle, mycoinsjournal.com. And there's a link tree there. You can find all of our services there.
Oh, perfect. Brandee, thank you. Thank you for this much needed conversation that I'm sure a lot of people will be having in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all, Lord. I just hope that anybody that's going to watch this really reaches out to Brandee. This is a very necessary conversation. Even though it may be uncomfortable, it is very necessary. It is always my hope that you will support all of the entrepreneurs that are on this platform. So until then, may we all continue to excel, elevate, and evolve.